Welcome to our deep dive into the haunting world of feral humans. I'm Joe. And when I started doing the research on this, I couldn't believe that these children even existed. These are children who, through extraordinary circumstances, have found themselves abandoned and isolated from human contact at a very young age. These are essentially humans that didn't learn how to be human. Deprived of the nurturing embrace of their own kind, they often seek solace and companionship in the wild, forming strong bonds with the creatures they encounter. The stories of feral children have captivated and perplexed humankind for centuries. Today we'll journey across continents and centuries to uncover the stories of the most feral children in history, with each tale stranger than the last. Our journey begins in the dense jungles of northern India, where in 1867, a hunting party stumbled upon a sight that sent shivers down their spines. Inside a wolf den, nestled amongst the cubs, was a human child, no more than 6 years old. This was Dina Sanichar, the Indian wolf boy. In the 1800s, life was really tough if you were living in India. Many families were very poor and couldn't take care of all their kids. When things got too hard, some parents made the selfish decision to just leave their children in the woods. It wasn't just about being poor. People also had old beliefs about luck and disabilities. If a baby was born with a problem or under certain stars, some folks thought the child would bring bad luck. So, sadly, they'd leave the baby in the woods. To make things worse, there weren't any places to take kids who didn't have homes, no orphanages or government help. So, when families couldn't care for their children, many felt they had no other choice. This is likely what happened with Dina. His movements were just like a wolf's. He walked on all fours, shunned cooked food, and sharpened his teeth on bones, echoing the behaviors of his wolf brethren. Dina's rescue marked the beginning of his arduous journey back into the human world. After his wolf family was murdered by his so-called rescuers, Dina was taken to an orphanage in Agra. He was met with a world entirely alien to him. The sights, sounds, and smells of human civilization were a source of constant bewilderment and distress. Despite the tireless efforts of his caregivers, Dina's integration proved challenging. The world he had known, the language he had spoken, the bonds he had forged were all rooted in the wild. Attempting the transition to human society was a struggle. Imagine trying to relearn your entire life in an alien world. Learning human customs and behaviors were an uphill battle for Dina. He never grasped the nuances of human language, communicating primarily through grunts and growls. The simple act of using cutlery remained a mystery, and he preferred to scavenge for food, his senses acutely attuned to the faintest scent of a meal. He formed a bond with his caregiver, learning to tolerate human touch and even displaying affection. He became addicted to tobacco, a vice he shared with some of the orphanage staff. Dina's life, though tragically cut short by tuberculosis in 1895, continues to intrigue scientists and anthropologists to this day. Although some say that he was rescued, others believe that he would have been better off with his wolf pack. Our journey takes us to the sun-drenched suburbs of Los Angeles, California, where in 1970, a discovery shocked the world. Hidden from view, confined to a small room, was a 13-year-old girl named Genie Wiley. Her story, a chilling testament to the devastating consequences of abuse and neglect. For over a decade, Genie had endured unimaginable isolation. Her discovery sparked a flurry of scientific inquiry. Could she, after years of deprivation, learn to speak and form attachments? Genie's emergence from the shadows of isolation marked the beginning of her journey into the uncharted territory of human connection. Genie, whose real name is Clark Wiley, was a feral child who was abused, neglected, and isolated for nearly 11 years. When she was around 20 months old, her father began isolating her in a locked room. During this horrific period, he subjected her to extreme abuse by restraining her to a child's toilet or confining her immobile in a crib. He completely cut her off from the world, denying her any meaningful interaction or stimulation, and severely neglected her physical needs. As a result of this extreme isolation, she was unable to develop language skills. Her ordeal came to light in November 1970, when she was 13 and a half years old, leading to her placement under the care of California Child Welfare Services. Whisked away to Children's Hospital Los Angeles, she became the subject of intense scrutiny and study. Linguists worked tirelessly to unlock the secrets of language acquisition, carefully documenting Genie's every utterance and gesture. Psychologists observed her interactions with caregivers, searching for glimpses of emotional attachment and social understanding. Despite their best efforts, Genie's progress was agonizingly slow. She also lived with psychologist David Rigler for 4 years, where she seemed to do well and enjoyed drawing and listening to classical music. However, Genie continued to experience abuse in foster homes and institutions, which caused her mental and physical health to decline and her behavioral and language skills to regress. While she learned to recognize some words and express basic needs, she never fully grasped the complexities of grammar and syntax. It is believed by many that the abuse that she had received before being found was a huge roadblock in her progress. Her social interactions remained awkward and childlike, her emotional responses often inappropriate or muted. Shortly after her 18th birthday, she moved in with her mother, but the arrangement proved unsustainable. Her mother soon realized she was unable to provide the necessary care and turned to authorities for help. Genie was then placed in a series of institutions and foster homes for disabled adults. These environments were marked by severe neglect and abuse, isolating her from loved ones and causing rapid deterioration of her physical and mental health. The language and behavioral skills she had recently acquired were quickly lost. What a horrifying and tragic life for this poor woman. Over time, Genie's case became a cautionary tale, highlighting the ethical dilemmas inherent in studying vulnerable individuals. The line between research and exploitation blurred. Questions arose about whether Genie's well-being was ever truly prioritized. Not only was she abused before being rescued, but many believed that she was abused by the doctors who rescued her. They studied her, scrutinized her, and treated her like a lab rat. This fact may well also be a reason why her treatment wasn't actually successful. A horrifying case. At this point in time, the whereabouts of Genie are unknown. In 1725, near Hamlin, a strange creature was spotted in the woods. He walked on all fours, naked, living on the forest bounty. This was Peter the Wild Boy. He was around 11 years old. It's believed that he was abandoned by his parents, who likely couldn't afford to raise him. A similar situation to our friend Dina. King George I ordered Peter be brought to the English court the following year, when Peter was about 12 years old. He essentially became the human pet of King George. His arrival caused a sensation. He seemed untouched by civilization. Peter was unable to talk. He also hated wearing clothes, Scholars and philosophers flocked to see him. Peter's inability to speak and peculiar gait baffled many. His story became a parable for the Enlightenment. Life at court proved to be a strange and bewildering experience for Peter. Though treated with kindness, he remained a wild creature at heart. He refused to sleep in a bed, preferring the comfort of a hay-filled box. His attempts to communicate were limited to grunts and gestures. He showed little interest in human interaction, preferring the company of animals. In time, the king lost interest in his human pet, Peter. The court provided Peter with a pension and a home on a Hertfordshire farm. There, he lived out his days surrounded by kind-hearted farmers, though he was forced to wear a collar identifying him as Peter, the Wild Man of Hanover. Peter passed away in 1785 and was buried in the nearby village of Northchurch. Modern experts have studied Peter's appearance and believe he may have suffered from Pitt-Hopkins syndrome, a rare genetic disorder characterized by distinctive facial features and intellectual disability. This condition could explain why his parents abandoned him. On a spring day in 1828, Nuremberg witnessed a strange sight. A disoriented teenage boy stumbled into the town square clutching a cryptic note. This was Kaspar Hauser, an enduring enigma. Hauser's arrival was shrouded in mystery. He carried letters suggesting he was an orphan destined for military life, another suggesting he was of noble lineage, but his appearance told a different story. Surviving solely on bread and water, with an awkward gait and limited speech focused on horses, Hauser seemed utterly devoid of normal human experience. Taken into care, he was placed under the guardianship of Lord Stanhope. Remarkably, Hauser quickly learned to read and write. He claimed he came from a life confined to a dark room. This added another layer of intrigue to the enigmatic case. His tale captured Europe's imagination, a magnet for conspiracy theorists. Despite the best efforts of his benefactors, Kaspar struggled to adapt to life in the outside world. His senses, starved of stimulation during his years of confinement, were overwhelmed by everyday life. He exhibited an almost childlike wonder at the simplest of things: the sun, the moon, the taste of bread, as if experiencing them for the very first time. He learned to read and write, displaying a particular aptitude for drawing and music. Under the watchful eye of poet and professor Georg Friedrich Daumer, Hauser began to share increasingly bizarre details of his past. He claimed to have endured a harsh prison upbringing, yet also recounted a vivid dream of life in a castle. Public fascination with Hauser ran high. Some believed him to be a feral child with extraordinary abilities, even suggesting he might be a lost prince or the son of a prominent noblewoman. Others dismissed him as a cunning impostor seeking fame and fortune. The mystery surrounding Hauser's identity was tragically cut short by his untimely death. Repeated attacks by unknown assailants culminated in a fatal stabbing. Whether this was a deliberate attempt to silence him or a tragic accident remains a subject of speculation. Was he a victim of a cruel hoax, a pawn in a game of political intrigue, or a genuine feral child? The answer, lost to the mists of time, continues to tantalize and intrigue. The year is 1731. In the rolling hills of Champagne, France, a strange rumor spreads. Peasants whisper of a wild girl roaming the forests, her clothes tattered, her hair matted. She moves with animal grace, subsisting on birds, frogs, and stolen apples. A mysterious young girl dressed in animal skins. Her age was uncertain, but estimates ranged from 10 to 18. When confronted by a dog, she killed it with a single blow and vanished into the woods. This is the story of Marie-Angélique Mimi Leblanc. News reached the local gentry, sparking a fervor to capture her. Hunting parties combed the woodland, hoping to catch a glimpse. Finally, on a crisp autumn day, the hunters cornered her. Weakened and exhausted, Marie-Angélique was captured. Filthy and scarred, she couldn't utter a word. Her capture marked the beginning of a new chapter. Taken to a hospital in Chalon and named Marie-Angélique Mimi Leblanc, she underwent a process of civilization. Her diet, previously raw meat, led to severe dental problems when she was introduced to cooked food. The transition from wildling to civilized young lady was a long and arduous journey for Marie-Angélique. She initially resisted all attempts to clothe, bathe, and feed her, yet slowly she began to adapt to her new surroundings. The ability to communicate gradually returned. Marie-Angélique's language skills blossomed, revealing a sharp mind. She learned to read and write, her elegant script a testament to her determination. The girl's origins remained a mystery until 1755, when a biography revealed her alleged past as a Native American girl sold into slavery and transported to France. Shipwrecked and separated from a companion, she had survived in the wilderness, developing feral behaviors. Remarkably, Leblanc recovered her health and, with intense instruction, learned to speak French. She became a subject of fascination for the upper classes, receiving financial support from a wealthy patron. Despite her refined lifestyle, she retained an air of wildness. Leblanc lived until the age of 63, a wealthy woman who had transformed from a feral child to a member of high society. In the annals of feral children, few stories are as poignant as that of Oxana Malaya. Born in Ukraine in 1983, Oksana's early life was marked by neglect and hardship. In 1994, a shocking discovery rocked the village of Nova Blagoveshchenka, Ukraine. Authorities encountered a feral child living amongst a pack of wild dogs. Unused to dealing with such situations, police strategically used food to lure the girl away from her canine companions. The young girl, identified as 8-year-old Oxana Malaya, had a tragic past. Her alcoholic parents had abandoned her outside in the harsh cold 5 years prior. Instinctively seeking warmth, Malaya crawled into a dog kennel, forming a unique bond with the pack. For the next 5 years, Malaya lived a primarily feral life, surviving on scraps the dogs received and possibly returning to her old home for additional food. This strong bond with the dogs made it difficult for police to separate her. The true challenge, however, lay in assimilating Malaya back into society. Placed in state care, she spent time in psychiatric institutions and group homes. Unable to speak initially and still walking on all fours, Malaya's reintegration seemed daunting. However, with the help of dedicated caregivers, progress emerged. Malaya slowly regained her ability to speak, drawing upon the minimal language skills she possessed from her early years. Orphanage schooling further expanded her vocabulary, and she gradually relearned to walk upright and communicate effectively. Despite these remarkable strides, Malaya still requires supervision in an adult care facility. It's unlikely she'll ever achieve complete independence. Additionally, her speech remains flat and emotionless, almost like someone forced to speak. However, her past with the dogs continues to subtly influence her life. Even today, she displays a strong canine instinct, hiding objects like a dog would bury a bone. The bustling metropolis of Moscow, a city flourishing with human life, seems an unlikely setting for a tale of a feral child until you find out what this child was running away from. Ivan Mishukov's story of feral existence is unique. Unlike most feral children, he wasn't abandoned. In fact, he chose life on the streets over a difficult home life. Raised by an alcoholic grandfather who frequently left him alone to suffer in misery, Mishukov fled his home around the age of 3 or 4, seeking solace with stray dogs. The homeless boy and his canine companions became a familiar sight near a Moscow bakery, begging for scraps. At night, Mishukov curled up with his newfound pack, Jessie, Goga, Masha, and Seva, for warmth and companionship. This unconventional family unit thrived for roughly 2 years, the dogs sharing their meager street finds with Mishukov, who in turn offered his own protection. In 1998, authorities intervened. The protective dogs initially thwarted attempts to reach Mishukov, highlighting the strong bond he'd formed. By the time of his rescue, a 5 or 6-year-old Mishukov was understandably hesitant to leave his canine family. "They loved me and I loved them," he recalled, referencing their affectionate licks. Mishukov was placed in an orphanage near Moscow. The loyal dogs, however, wouldn't give up. They showed up at the orphanage gates, determined to reunite with their human companion. Tragically, officials made the difficult decision to euthanize the dogs, whom Mishukov considered his only family. Despite the loss, Mishukov acknowledges the role the dogs played in his survival. He also expresses gratitude to the police who rescued him and to his loving foster mother, Tatiana Baba Nina. Baba Nina provided the stability and support Mishukov needed to heal from his early trauma and excel academically. Unlike many feral children, Mishukov's story has a positive outcome, leading him to a successful career after graduating from Kronstadt Naval Cadet School. Deep within the humid, vibrant rainforests of South America, a different kind of survival story unfolded. A young girl, barely 4 years old, found herself alone and abandoned, a tiny speck swallowed by the vast green expanse. Kidnapped at 4 and abandoned in the Colombian jungle of the 1950s, she endured a childhood unlike any other. Left for dead, she found refuge among a troop of monkeys who accepted her into their fold. As detailed in her autobiography, The Girl with No Name, Chapman learned to survive in the wild, relying on the monkeys for guidance and sustenance. However, the jungle was a harsh environment, and she quickly realized the brutal nature of survival. After 5 long years, a stroke of fate led to Marina's discovery. Hunters, venturing deep into the rainforest, stumbled upon the feral child. Her wild hair, her unfamiliarity with human contact, and her simian mannerisms marked her as an anomaly, a creature caught between 2 worlds. Rescued from the only life she knew, Marina faced a new challenge: reintegration into human society. The transition was fraught with difficulty. Years of living amongst primates had left their mark. Language, a cornerstone of human interaction, seemed an insurmountable barrier. Social cues, ingrained in us from infancy, were a mystery to her. Following a brief period of freedom, she was captured and forced into sexual slavery, adding another layer of trauma to her life. Despite these harrowing experiences, Chapman eventually rebuilt her life. She slowly began to grasp the complexities of human language, learning to communicate and reconnect with her own kind. Her story, once she was old enough to share it, captivated the world. Her extraordinary tale has faced skepticism, with many doubting the authenticity of her story. Yet, Chapman maintains she lived among the monkeys for 5 years before venturing back into human society. While her story is extraordinary, Chapman believes her experiences are not entirely unique. Having encountered numerous street children with their own harrowing tales, she maintains a sense of perspective about her own life. Today, she lives a relatively normal life in the UK, her past a distant yet unforgettable memory. High in the remote and rugged Sierra Morena mountains of Spain, another extraordinary tale of survival unfolded. This time, our subject is a young boy named Marcos Rodríguez Pantoja. At the tender age of 7, abandoned and left to fend for himself, Marcos found himself utterly alone in a world dominated by silence and the whispers of the wind. The Sierra Morena, with its soaring peaks and verdant valleys, was a harsh mistress. Yet within its embrace, Marcos found unexpected allies. Wolves, those apex predators often demonized in folklore, became his protectors, his companions in a world devoid of human contact. They taught him the art of survival, how to hunt rabbits, identify edible plants, and seek shelter from the elements. Years melted into a tapestry woven from the rhythms of nature. Marcos, once a frightened child, blossomed under the tutelage of his lupine companions. He learned to communicate through a combination of growls, barks, and gestures. He moved with the pack, his senses attuned to the subtle cues of the wilderness. His story, once it came to light, challenged our perception of the natural world and the supposed boundaries between humanity and the wild. After 12 years of living amongst wolves, Marcos' solitary existence came to an end when he was discovered by the Guardia Civil. Whispers of a wild boy living in the mountains had reached civilization, prompting a search party to venture into the remote region. His capture, however, was not a joyous reunion. Marcos, fiercely independent and wary of humans, resisted their attempts to integrate him back into society. The transition proved to be a double-edged sword. While Marcos yearned for the comfort of human connection, he struggled to reconcile his wild upbringing with the constraints of civilization. The bustling cities, the cacophony of human voices, the rigidity of social norms, all of it overwhelmed him. He missed the freedom of the mountains, the companionship of his wolf family, the simplicity of a life ruled by instinct. Despite the challenges, Marcos' story is not a tragedy. He has found a way to navigate both worlds, embracing his unique past while carving out a place for himself in human society. His experiences serve as a poignant reminder that the wilderness can shape us in profound and unexpected ways, leaving an indelible mark on our souls. From the sweltering jungles of South America to the rugged peaks of the Spanish mountains, these stories of feral children remind us of the resilience and adaptability of the human spirit. They challenge our understanding of what it means to be human, blurring the lines between our civilized selves and the primal instincts that lie dormant within us. Marina, Marcos, and the countless other children who have found themselves at the mercy of the wild serve as living testaments to our capacity for survival. Their experiences, though often harrowing, highlight the extraordinary lengths to which we can adapt in the face of adversity. They remind us that the bonds of family can transcend species and that hope can blossom even in the most unforgiving of environments. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the wild and haunting world of feral humans. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more intriguing stories.